Our second session of the day is going to be on end-to-end encrypted systems. And end-to-end encryption is a very strong security guarantee in cryptography, which means that we want security for the endpoint. So for example, in a messaging system, we want that only the sender and the recipients can read the plain text and modify the data. And despite a lot of efforts in our community to bring end-to-end encryption to new domains and make it more prevalent, it's still not the default in many settings. So later in the session, we'll hear about some of the challenges in cloud storage and cloud computing for end-to-end encryption. But first off, we have Lara, who's a cryptographic engineer at Proton, and Aaron, who's a cryptographic manager, sorry, an engineering manager at Proton. Not Lara's manager. Who will tell us about some recent advancements that they have made at Proton towards enabling end-to-end encryption for further features in end-to-end encrypted email. So please, Lara and Aaron, take it away.
Hi everyone, I'm Lara. Here's Aaron. We are part of the crypto team at Proton. And for those who don't know, Proton has many different products like Mail, Calendar, Drive, Docs, Meet, and many more. And the common denominator is that we want to deliver end-to-end encryption to users whenever possible. And today we are covering a mail-only feature, which is automatic forwarding and mailing lists. And the reason why we chose this one is because the cryptographic primitive involved is fairly simple, and the feature itself is self-contained in mail. But the challenge in deploying this showcases the type of issues and design considerations we take into account in general. And for instance, during the post-quantum deployment we are going through right now, we actually face many of the challenges that you're going to see now. So I'll give, first of all, an overview of what we are talking about. So automatic forwarding is a scenario where we have Bob, that is a Proton user, and he wants to forward all or some of his emails to Charlie, that is also a Proton user. And so we want this to be end-to-end encrypted from Alice to Charlie. In the Proton setting, Alice, Bob, and Charlie would all have a long-term key pair. And this is protected by key transparency as a layer. And if a user doesn't trust that, Alice can also, for instance, manually go and pin Bob's public key. Then the extended setup involves mailing lists that is somewhat similar. And in this case, there's a group address that Alice can encrypt to. The group has a public key. And this way, the message will be encrypted to a number of recipients that Alice doesn't know about. And these are both common email features, like that have nothing to do with end-to-end encryption themselves. But when we add the encrypted layer, well, basically we are translating the requirements to is a temporary trust delegation in the case of the simple forwarding, meaning that Bob wants to trust Charlie with the content of the forwarded emails, but not with his own secret keys directly. And for the case of mailing list, as I mentioned, the idea is that Alice cannot get access to the final set of recipients behind the group address. And further, for performance reasons, there's also a performance reason why we want a single public key that she has to encrypt to. Also considering that the set of recipients behind the group can change over time. And we want to deliver both of these with the end-to-end encrypted guarantees while maintaining interoperability across clients as well as backwards compatibility. So what this means is that Alice, that is not involved in forwarding at all, if you think about it, she doesn't know that Bob is forwarding. She doesn't have to update her software to do this, right? And in general, at Proton, we don't want to force user to ever update an app for a feature. And this is because specifically mobile devices the maximum version you can upgrade an app to is bound to the operating system you're running, right? So if your phone is 5-year-old, you will not be able to update to the latest version of the Proton apps, for instance. And in terms of the cryptographic layer, the long-term keepers I spoke about that all the users have are OpenPGP keys. So the system we are deploying needs to integrate into the existing OpenPGP protocol. Just another note about the interoperability again. So I did mention this is a mail-only feature, but there's a catch because most of the other Proton products integrate sharing. And for instance, in Drive, when you share a file with someone at Proton, you share it to their email address. When you invite someone to a calendar event, you invite them through their email address. So basically, the bottom line is that the long-term keys I mentioned actually are consumed by most products at Proton. So effectively, all clients at Proton across all products need to be able to deal with this forwarding setup that, as we will see, goes and affects the decryption keys involved. And to give another concrete number, just think that in the case of mail only, we have at least 5 different code bases deployed because we have the web client, we have Bridge, that is a specific interoperability layer if you want to use Thunderbird, for instance, with a Proton email address. Then we have iOS app, we have the Android app, and then we have a next generation version of both of these apps that's being deployed right now. So this is just mail and then multiplied for all the products. And you see how many different versions of cryptographic libraries we might have to take into account. But going back to the forwarding case, we're going to formalize a little the thread model we settled for. So we have an end-to-end setup. So that means that the mail server, that is also the forwarding server in this case, should now be able to read the forwarding messages. And Charlie should also only be able to read the forwarding messages. So the server in this case is trusted to respect some of the constraints that Bob decides when he sets up the forwarding. So I might say, just forward this while I'm on vacation for this month, or just forward for me the emails that are sent from Matilda. And a further important requirement is that Charlie should not be able to impersonate Bob in this process, right? So effectively, it means he should not be able to sign in the name of Bob, even though he can receive emails that are meant for Bob. And we have a distributed trust model because effectively the server and Charlie can collude to reconstruct Bob's encryption keys. And finally, as I mentioned already, Alice should not know that the forwarding is taking place. If anything, because she might have already pinned Bob's public key, for instance, so we don't want to disrupt existing trust assumptions. Now, Aaron pointed out that for credibility, we should also include the LaTeX figure in the presentation, even though we are not strictly talking about cryptographic protocols, so here it is. And this is just to show at the high level what's going on with this key sharing I mentioned. So we have Bob that has a long-term public key, and Alice encrypts to Bob. And then Bob has set up a forwarding to Charlie that has a share of Bob public's key effectively. So Charlie has this PC is a share, and the MTA is the server, the mail server, also effectively has another share of Bob's key. So as mentioned, these two can be combined to go back to Bob's key. And the server will also transform the incoming ciphertext from Alice to deliver it to Charles, while Bob will get the original ciphertext. So this is a feature we had deployed years ago, and it's stable. Users are happy with it, of course, and you can see the numbers of the existing setups. But to get to these numbers and to get to deploy in the first place, we actually had to face the first difficult problem of the entire thing, because the crypto primitive in itself wasn't actually the issue, right? What we want to do is basically to deliver a scheme to users that don't necessarily know what keys are. And so we want this entire end-to-end system to be as transparent as possible. So what this means effectively is that it should feel familiar and natural, so like feel as close as possible to the normal forwarding a mailing list case. From the very setup phase, again, Alice should not know that a forwarding is behind the receiving address. So at Proton, one of the reasons why we use OpenPGP is because we want to integrate with the wider ecosystem. So already now, people from outside of Proton can encrypt to Proton's user and have end-to-end encryption just by fetching the OpenPGP keys. And so we want to be able to keep this setup. So if an email comes in encrypted, end-to-end encrypted, it should stay end-to-end encrypted and be forwarded as such. And of course, everything needs to work in terms of like the messages should still be decrypted and the signatures should be verifiable. So Ali's signature should be verifiable by Bob and Charlie. And this is because, as I mentioned, there's this existing trust network with key transparency and PIN keys. Now, to deliver this user experience, of course, there's technical challenges involved. So starting from the key setup, we are actually aided by the usual setup flow. And so the technical solution for this was quite nice because Charlie already needs to go and click a button normally to say, yes, I want to have the emails forwarding to me. So what we do is that behind these acceptance steps, we hide the key exchange, meaning that when Charlie accepts, he receives an encrypted key from Bob that he decrypts and adds to his keyring. And this is the key share that he has from Bob. Another thing we want to do, and this is about this interoperability across clients, as I mentioned, basically we need Charlie's clients to be able to decrypt these special decryption keys. So we ask Charlie to, in order to accept the forwarding, you need to update all your Proton clients, and effectively you will not be able to use all their clients anymore. This we call a partial first upgrade, and it's not ideal, but it's unfortunately necessary in many cases. And so I'm going to pass the presentation to Aaron soon to talk about more contrived forwarding setups, but I'm just going to make another note about the key transparency integration, which is actually comes quite neatly, almost out of the box. This is because, so Alice's encrypts to Bob, so the original public key of Bob was mentioned, and the decryption keys that Charlie's received don't need to go in key transparency because they are not used, basically, in the exchange for encryption. And signatures in OpenPGP are not bound to the recipient. So when Alice sends a message to Bob, the signature can be verified by anyone that is Alice's public key. So basically, message verification works quite easily. But now I'll let Aaron continue with the further challenges.
So let's look at a few more problematic cases where we had to take action and decide what to do. In this case, we have already forwarding from Bob to Charlie, as we've seen before, and now Alice wants to forward their email to Bob. What happens here is the fact that they could just go through, click the buttons, and set it up. But then Alice would encrypt a key for Bob, generate a key and encrypt it for Bob, and then Bob would have to do the same with Charlie. So effectively speaking, Charlie, while Bob would have to accept the forwarding as they're used to, Charlie would have to, even though they already have a forwarding in place, they would have to accept the key and add it to their keyring manually. We can't just auto-add a key to any keyring. And this is a problem, because users are not used to update an existing forwarding because it's now outdated or something, or there's some email go through and some don't. So what we decided to do is limiting the forwarding chain to one. This sounds like a restriction, this is a restriction, but we had a few reasons why we decided to do this. Well, another reason is the feature regression. So if PQC comes out and we bring forwarding to PQC, what happens is that in this scheme that we may use may not have unbounded, unlimited transformations, properties, or whatever. And then we have to tell you, sorry, yeah, in order, well, you enable PQC, now you have this forwarding, well, you lose this feature, sorry. And this is never nice to do because people are going to be upset about this. Then clearly we reduce key complexity, with complexity in key distribution, we have no loops, well, you don't have chains, you don't have loops. And here's a spicy point. If you want this, what do? You have to disable end-to-end encryption. I know this sounds terrible, especially to an audience of cryptographers, but sometimes people want to forward their invoices to an external accounting software or whatever, and so you need to offer an option to do this. And it's also like a kind of business feature. It's not like every user can just click on a button, hey, kill my end-to-end encryption. But the thing is, there needs to be this. If you don't offer features that are comparable to what users want, people will simply not use your product. So the issue here is the fact that if the system is not usable, users will not use it. So when you design something with cryptography, you always need to come down to the fact that especially if you want to deploy to a wide audience that might have hundreds of millions of users, then there will be, most of them will not know what a key is, most of them will not care that much about it. They will just want the bloody carpet, they want it to work. So, here's I have a story with a little slightly better ending instead. Nested groups. So you have a group and you have a subgroup. Daniel here is a member of both the group and the subgroup. What happens is that you have two entry points. So an email can come through the employees at company group, but can also come in through the engineering at company address. So due to a KDF step, there is a binding to the public key into the ciphertext. So what happens is that these two require two different decryption keys because they are, so Daniel will need two different transform keys, one for the group, one for the subgroup. If you go down the nesting groups, you may have n subkeys depending on how many groups you'll lay it down. Till you add a member, that's fairly simple because you just generate a key with n subkeys, send it to them encrypted, easy. The problem is when you nest a group into another group. You have like, I don't know, hundreds users into a group and then you nest it into another one and then you have to generate hundreds of keys, distribute them correctly to all the various sub-users and so on. And what kind of saved us here is the fact that this is a business-only feature, and this is only used from organizations that usually have like a key escrow to their sub-users, so they can manage the keys on behalf of the sub-users. And what happens here is the fact that the administrator creates the group. It will take a while to kind of get it to the sub-users, but it will work. So it will work out of the box. There might be a spinner or something, but they don't need to tell hundreds of users, yeah, please go click and accept the button, because that's not an acceptable user experience. We're still working on this. This is 2026. We deployed the other feature 2024, so you can see that the complexity here is not into the mathematical problem of just unbound forwarding chains, whatever, but is actually getting all the keys to accept correctly and work and juggle with them. Another headache we've had was standardization. Some people in the room I've seen have been at the ITF already and stuff, and well, getting things standardized is a hurdle. People have lots of opinions. People will tell you, no, I would like it this way, this other way. And we want to send these emails across email providers. We're trying to standardize this at the ITF. We have a personal drafter, but this personal drafter also has some issues. For instance, we need to change some ways to modernize it. We have a V6 certificate right now in OpenPGP that this stuff is not compatible with because we changed the way that the KDF is done, as well as post-quantum. That leads us to the future work. So we make sure that we still have work to do at all times, because right now we only support the so-called legacy ECDH. That is, ECDH with various curves. And OpenPGP split this up into various algorithms, improving the security of it too, by improving the binding to the ciphertext and the public key. But this clearly makes my life harder. The V62509 has a different KDF step. It will require some work, it will require a little bit more juggling, but it's fairly okay. Like, we can do it, we'll get it done. PQCs, that is the fun topic, because there is a paper here that kind of looks very interesting. I tried to read through it and stuff, but you can imagine, once we go through this path, what we'll have to do is, first of all, the paper is done, the paper is here. You need sure to get it peer-reviewed, but it's not like completely out of, we don't even have to invent the math behind it. But then you still need to implement it into a cryptographic library. You need still to get it through the standardization body so that everyone's happy with it. You need to make sure it matches your user experience. You need to make sure that this is deployed, that is in one of the, how many crypto libraries are we supporting right now? 3 different across by how many versions? So like, you need to get it implemented there, you need to go again through another 4 separate of all the users. And you need to make sure that users will be using it as smoothly as the one that they have been using so far. Well, and this last point is actually fairly, let's say, shame point for OpenPGP. We don't really have a key expiration enforcement. We would like to use the newest key server advancements to include shorter-lived keys in order so that if something happens that these proxy factors are leaked, Bob's inbox is less exposed because he's rotating a key. I think we call this the pretty good forward secrecy or something like this. It's not really, but it works. So, I guess if anyone wants to come to work with us, we have a PQC integration to offer or something. Yeah, thank you. If you have any question, I'm glad, we'll be glad at taking them.
Okay, so we have time for some questions. Jean-Paul?
Hi. I might have misunderstood a bit the requirements, but is your case requiring like proxy re-encryption, or is there some reason for not using proxy re-encryption?
It's actually a perfect use of the proxy re-encryption scheme.
But you do a key exchange, you said, right? And
going back to here, probably, Bob generates a key for Charles, sends it over. Oh, well, actually, I even have a better slide for this. Look at this.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I love it. I got you. You want to see Latin, you get to see letter. So you generate a key, and then you compute the factor, and you send one encrypted to the proxy and via TLS. And the other, you send it to Charles via encrypted as an attachment to an email, so via PGP. That's the idea. This is basically the secret of Bob, split up into 2 different parts, and one is given to the server, and the other is given to the final recipient. So it is a perfect example of a proxy as a very mild proxy re-encryption scheme without anything fancy. So it's literally a multiplication on the elliptic curve field.
okay, and users are acting as the proxy?
No, the server. We are the proxy. So these are the Proton servers doing this. And I hope soon also other main providers may join into this thing. So anyone that implements an MTA, a mid-name transfer agent, can do this. And the users are, one is Alice that is internal or external, we don't know, like it can be anyone who's using any OpenPGP user. Both in this case is a Proton user that wants to enable forwarding. And Charles is the person who receives the forwarding and is the final forwarding recipient.
Okay, thanks.
Any further questions from the audience? If not, then let's thank Aaron and Lara again.